Good evening from Raleigh, North Carolina. Folks, this is take 4. I don't know what's going on with my video stuff, but this is take 4. The lighting could be better, and the music could be softer, but whatever. I want to talk about My Little Pony. Now, obviously, as you're looking at my particular demographic, mainly gender, right? Clearly, you're probably wondering, what on earth is he doing watching My Little Pony? Well, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I'm 48 years old at the time of this recording. You had slim pickings, folks, especially if you didn't have cable. You know, there was no Netflix, there was no YouTube, there was no Hulu, there was no Roku Kids or whatever, you know. So, you know, you got what you got. Folks, I even watched Jem, all right? Jem. I didn't care. Watch what I could. So back to My Little Pony. So, why am I bringing this up here in regards to My Little Pony? Now, I'm really going to get very narrow. I'm not going to cover a wide breadth of this. But my children, you know, both girls have watched My Little Pony, and it's obviously the newer one. And I couldn't help noticing, with it, and a few other cartoons too, of how different they were from when I was a child. And I will tell you, the ones I want to focus on are the characters. I think mainly Tyrek, Spike, and Scorpion. So I have to straight off tell you that I remember watching the My Little Pony movie when I was a child. Now, folks, I'm not saying it was as rough as Watership Down. Now, if you haven't seen Watership Down, watch Watership Down, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, it was TV PG. Watership Down was. But I gotta tell you, PG, excuse me, it was PG. But I have to tell you that today it probably would pass for PG-13. It was a pretty rough movie. I'm not saying it was quite that bad or that rough. It might have been somewhere on the level of, I'm trying to remember that Hobbit production that came out. What was that, 70s, 80s? The cartoon. It might have been about at that level. So I remember watching the My Little Pony movie, and you know, and there was a lot of cutesy, girl stuff, obviously, and that was cool. You know, it was all cool in the game, but boy, the villains were rough to watch. There was one called Scorpion, kind of looked like a flying possum, but still kind of scary looking. You know, sharp voice. You know, very strong. Basically about business. You had Spike, and Spike was an innocent, little dragon. And I don't know if you want to call him a pet or almost like an adopted child of some sort, of Scorpion. I don't know. But I know Scorpion worked for someone, and Scorpion was kidnapping ponies and everything. But Scorpion worked for someone named Tyrek. And Tyrek was a scary individual. First of all, he had this tinny, ominous reverb of a voice. Secondly, there were a lot of close shots. They were all in dark. And just that presentation of Tyrek was just scary enough for me, and obviously, I love to watch those, macho boy movies, and, you know, Transformers and but I have to tell you that Tarek put a lot of fear in me. And of course they were turning these ponies. I don't know what the Samuel they were supposed to be. I think it was a combination between maybe horses and dragons. I don't know what was going on. And I mean, they were the scariest things. They had horns that were like, I don't know, size of javelins or something. I mean, it was the scariest thing. And once again, the lighting was so dark. It's very dark and ominous. And so I see the children's My Little Pony, because you want to make sure you know what your children are watching. And I'm trying to remember if I saw much of Scorpion. I don't know. But I saw Tarek, and Tarek, well, I don't know, Tarek is buff. Tarek, I guess, is imposing, but Tarek was nowhere near as frightening as the 1980s one. And I bet you a lot of it has to do with the lighting. A lot of it has to do with the voice, because I think he's supposed to sound kind of tough, and I guess he does, but nothing like that other Tarek. And it's also interesting because I believe Spike kind of has a different relationship in the new My Little Pony. He seems to just hang around the female ponies. I think he has a crush on another pony. Also, Tarek had basically made, if you will, Scorpion. Scorpion was a king, and he basically made Scorpion into a servant in the movie in the 80s. Whereas Tarek and Scorpion are brothers in this one. But I have to tell you, man, I don't know. That the Tarek that I see today, in My Little Pony of this modern era, I suppose, if you want to call it that, does not scare me at all. And I think he's more buff, if you will, than the Scorpion in the 1980s movie. But man, the 1980s movie Tarek was just the scariest thing. And matter of fact, I don't think that Tarek is anywhere near as frightening as Scorpion. And to be honest with you, he might be a couple levels a little bit more frightening than Spike. I'm kidding there. Obviously, he's clearly more frightening than Spike. But Spike is not frightening at all. So, anyway, folks, I don't want to talk your ear off, but thank you for your time. Take care, and goodbye.